When you think of Prague, you probably picture this fairy tale city, right? The city of 100 spires. But what we're going to talk about today is the story behind all that beauty. It's a story of incredible survival and rebirth, a city forged not just in gold, but in fire. So let's dive right in. We're about to go on a journey that spans more than 1,000 years of history. We'll see how this city, right here on the Vltava River, became a stage for empires, for revolutions, and for this amazing cultural resilience, all to really understand the soul of this incredible place. All right, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with its mythical origins and its golden age, then move through centuries of devastating conflict, onto its peaceful revolution, and finally look at the really complex way its people live with that history today. Okay, let's rewind the clock. We're starting in the Middle Ages. This is the moment when Prague goes from just a settlement on a river to the glittering, powerful heart of the Holy Roman Empire. You know, every great city needs a great origin story, right? Well, Prague's begins with a prophecy. Legend has it that the Czech prophetess Libuše stood on a cliff overlooking the river and saw it all, a city whose glory would touch the stars. It's a powerful myth, for sure, but the actual history of how Prague rose to power is maybe even more impressive. Now, what's really fascinating is how this timeline just explodes with ambition in the 14th century. I mean, you see the first stone buildings pop up around Prague Castle in the late 800s, and it steadily grows. But then, everything just goes into overdrive under one key figure, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles IV. Charles IV basically put Prague on the map. He made it his imperial capital, and he poured an unbelievable amount of resources into making it worthy of that title. He founded the very first university in Central Europe, kicked off construction on the incredible St. Vitus Cathedral, and laid the first stone of the bridge that, would one day be named after him. This was Prague's absolute golden age. But, as you can probably guess, that golden age didn't last. It gave way to centuries of conflict, where Prague's true strength was tested not by its beauty, but by its sheer ability to endure everything that came next. The city became a constant battleground. It was absolutely rocked by religious wars. And then in 1618, you have this wild event at Prague Castle, the infamous defenestration of Prague, where two officials were literally thrown out of a window, and that sparked the 30 Years' War, one of the most destructive conflicts in European history. And this awful cycle just continued right into the 20th century, with occupations by both Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. And the impact was just catastrophic. During the 30 Years' War alone, all the violence and chaos caused the city's population to plummet by 2/3. It went from 60,000 people down to just 20,000. Prague was a city literally hollowed out by war. And these two images, wow, they tell the whole story, don't they? On the left, you've got this romantic, timeless vision of the Charles Bridge. And on the right, the brutal reality of the 20th century arriving in the form of Soviet tanks. Prague's magnificent architecture has been this constant, silent witness to the forces of history, a cycle of siege and survival that would only be broken in our lifetime. And that break came in 1989. After all those centuries of violent conflict, Prague became the stage for one of the most remarkable and peaceful transfers of power in modern history. They called it the Velvet Revolution for a reason. It was incredibly nonviolent. What started as peaceful student protests swelled into this huge nationwide movement. And in just a matter of weeks, 41 years of authoritarian communist rule just crumbled away. And that same peaceful spirit carried right on through. Just a few years later, Czechoslovakia split into two nations, the Czech Republic and Slovakia, in what everyone called the Velvet Divorce. Prague, once the capital of a mighty empire, was reborn as the capital of the new Czech Republic. So, after history that turbulent, you'd think everyone would be celebrating this hard-won freedom, right? Well, the answer is actually a lot more complicated than that. It's really nuanced. Take a look at this. Public opinion surveys paint such a fascinating picture. Sure, 45%, a plurality, believe life is better today. But look at the other numbers. 1/3 of people are kind of meh about it, and another 14% are openly nostalgic for the communist era. It just goes to show you the memory of the past is not simple at all. When you dig into the details, there's a lot of agreement on the benefits of freedom. This chart shows what people think about different parts of life today. As you can see, the bars for culture, the environment, and foreign policy are really high. People feel those things have improved dramatically since the revolution. But here's the flip side. This chart shows how people felt about those same things back in the communist era. Notice how high the approval was for social security and personal safety? The very same people who value today's freedoms also feel like a real sense of security was lost along the way. So, what does this all boil down to? It's this fundamental trade-off. For many, the memory of the past isn't black and white. Freedom brought incredible opportunity, but it also eroded the state-guaranteed security and the social safety nets that they had once known. So, after this whole incredible journey through time, what can Prague teach us? What's the city's ultimate lesson? You know, the answer is literally built into the city itself. Prague Castle isn't just one style. It's a living museum where Romanesque, Gothic, Renaissance, and Baroque buildings all stand right next to each other. Each layer tells a story of destruction, of rebuilding, and of adaptation. And that's the real heart of it, isn't it? The city's identity isn't just about the glory days under Charles IV. It's about this profound cultural resilience that allowed it to survive wars and plagues and occupations, and to rise again, time after time, without ever losing its soul. And that's why in Prague, history isn't just some dusty old thing in a museum. It's a living, breathing force. You feel it in the cobblestone streets, you hear it in the political debates, and you see it in that constant, complex negotiation between the value of freedom and the memory of security. The past is always there, shaping the city's vibrant present and its unfolding future. And that really leaves us with a final thought. Prague's story of resilience is written in its streets, a constant dialogue between its past and present. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What story of survival is written in the streets of your own city?